Hey, this is Theo from Handling History, and just thinking about maybe doing of a little bit of an informal kind of type series, just chatting about, I don't know, various experiences with regards to kind of travel, history, picking up coins while you are traveling, kind of helping let that inform your collecting. I've always found I was kind of inspired by places I visited or things I read that kind of took my collecting interests in various different directions, and it always kept it interesting and fun. Um, Stopped you from kind of getting down that rabbit hole, which I think most collectors experience when they start, of hyper focusing on one series and trying to kind of collect that to perfection. Um, I think something that really, I don't know, it was interesting. It was just through university as well. Just exposure to different courses. I don't really know kind of what kicked off the interest, just thinking about it off the top of my head. Um, I think we can maybe start back a little bit further, just on the collecting journey side of things. Yeah, for me, like growing up, I think I was, I don't know, lucky or unlucky, depending on your view of the coin hobby, to be decently well exposed to it from a pretty young age. My grandfather was a pretty large collector of modern mint sets, so kind of, not to say pretty basic, like entry level collecting stuff, but he was doing it more so as an investment, which obviously, looking back now on how things have turned and how much material those modern mints and proof coins and stuff like that those churn out on a yearly basis, kind of proves that that isn't really the smartest way to go if you're looking to invest money or make money in the coin trade. It's almost probably the worst thing you can do with your money. The second you buy any of that from the mint, well, obviously, if you're buying those on the secondary market or close to spot metal values or whatever, you're probably going to do fine. But if you're buying those directly from the mint, that's probably the least uh, the least attractive way to spend your money on coins. But yeah, like I was exposed to that from a pretty young age, and I just started collecting small denomination modern coins, like stuff in change, rifling through change, looking for stuff that was interesting or cool. And then it kind of just blossomed from there. A little bit of, how would I say it nicely, manic, a little bit manic depressive. Um, without putting too much of a shadow on it. But you get really hyper focused on some stuff, and I don't know, that kind of predisposes you towards like completing a collection or really hyper focusing on a certain series for a bit of time and then completely losing interest and not touching it for a couple of years, which I have done multiple times with different countries, different regions, and different coin types. I'll get really into something, whether it be, I don't know, Japanese cast coins, Chinese cast coins, and then you don't buy anything for a couple of years, and then you get right back into it and you kind of dive in headlong. But I don't know, it keeps it interesting, it keeps it fun. So from there, I kind of focused in on modern coins, and then you push it back a little bit further, you find a little bit more interesting things, start making a little bit more money at your summer job, that it kind of expands what you're able to do, and then it kind of just snowballs from there, and then it gets completely out of hand. Especially for me, I think even prior to COVID, living at home, making decent money, you suddenly have a lot of disposable income to kind of devote towards your hobbies, which I was fortunate enough to be able to do. So really led to a ballooning of my collection during that time. I was basically putting all of my income plus money I didn't necessarily have into my collecting hobby, which obviously wasn't the healthiest decision. Again, fortunate enough to be able to, or have had the opportunity to kind of earn my way out of that problem. But there was a period of time where I owed a non-insignificant amount on coin purchases that I'd made, that I've had to pay off over time, which again is part of the learning process. Is if you get really into collecting, especially people like you'll understand if you kind of chase things and the next coin always has to be better than the last, and then things that you used to look at that were pretty attractive at one point no longer have that same appeal that you once kind of felt or had towards them originally. But yeah, that was a bit of a tangent. But yeah, like I think just through university too, exposed through different courses, different areas in history, especially I was fortunate to be able to travel to Europe when I was younger. So getting that exposure to coin stores and stuff that had a lot more material that was ancient or hammered coins particularly really piqued my interest. And from where I was with modern coins, especially like you look at North American coins, so US, Canada, you're going to be spending a significant amount of money. Like the price on some of the stuff when you start getting a little bit back into especially into the 1800s, if you want mid-condition stuff, you're spending a few $100 to $1,000 per piece, which actually goes really far. If you start looking at ancient hammered coins, like you can get really high quality Roman, Greek, British, French coins for that same price point, which I think is a lot more attractive value proposition. And I think over time, just markets wise, that's going to reverse as well. But so just getting that exposure in Europe when I was younger, I picked up a couple coins, which you'll see on the channel when I was in Europe, kind of, I don't know, when you're 15, 16. So nothing crazy, but really good keepsakes. And it really reminds you that time you were there. And then another great perk of being able to visit Europe and spend some time there is looking at all of the coins in museums. So you go through in Florence, there's these, not off the top of my head, there wasn't a specific coin museum. Again, I was younger, so there might be one that I wasn't aware of. But in Florence, there was a few kind of coin chests or coin displays that I saw at some of the museums, maybe in the Uffizi, that were really nice. I think that's something I actually don't have in my collection that I would like to get. One Medici coin with their kind of very famous coat of arms. Looks almost to me, I joke about like a pizza slice with the pieces of pepperoni. But that in Florence, and then in Vienna as well. Obviously, like they have a specific coin room in the Kunsthistorisches Museum, like the art history museum, which is fantastic. Would really recommend if you're going to Austria and you're interested in coins at all, I would spend some time there. It's like all museums though, I find museum curation for coins when you're going to take a look at stuff, they'll have a piece, like obviously not everything's about secondary market value, but you'll have a piece that would go for 10, 20 grand, and then beside it there's a $3, $5 coin, which I think is interesting. Like they have so much material that they don't kind of, it's an interest, I don't know, it's interesting the curation decisions that they make while they're setting up coin museums, I find, relative to other museums and then other sections of the museum. Yeah, anyway, another tangent. And then in Athens as well, I'm blanking on the name, but there's a fantastic coin museum. He was a merchant, I think, in Athens in the 1800s or early 1900s. It's a fantastic house, kind of in central Athens, just off of where the not National Assembly building, but the government buildings are in the center, kind of just at the foot, like you looking up to the Acropolis. It's just off that main area. There's a fantastic coin museum that has one of the most amazing selections of Ptolemaic gold coins I've seen, and those are fantastic. If you haven't seen those in person, you need to. They're probably one of my favorite coin series by a large margin. There's really high relief, beautiful figurative work with the eagle on one side, and then I think the ones with Arsinoe, I believe is her name, the wife of the Ptolemaic I think it was Ptolemy the fifth, something like that. Those are fantastic oxydrachms, beautiful pieces. And then also obviously like a great selection of Eastern Roman late Eastern Roman gold coins. So you could spend a ton of time going through the collection there, and I think I went there twice and just kind of sat there in awe and took a long time going through things. But yeah, I think that going to Europe really inspired me to pursue that collection avenue a lot more. And then same with Japan as well. I was able to go to Japan, and in their archaeological museum, they have a fantastic grouping of kind of Japanese and Chinese coins, very interchangeable for a long period of history. So, and they're affordable as well. That kind of appealed to my little bit of ADHD, OCD, whatever, with just checking numbers off a list. So I was able to take a pretty good chunk out of the catalog of Chinese coins, and maybe that was over COVID. I kind of dove into that a little bit more, picking up some various pieces from that collection, which I'm going to start highlighting soon on the channel. I'd like to make a couple videos about that, and just kind of, you need inspiration for subject matter and still getting through formatting stuff, how to film videos properly, how to script them but not sound too scripted. Trying to work on that as well. I think it's enjoyable, helping me enjoy my own collection as well. Take a step back from kind of repeatedly buying things to satiate the demand, to always have something new and actually take a second and look at what you do have. Like going through that Ethelred video, putting everything down on the mat and going one by one, looking at all the coins. That was really enjoyable for me versus having them all sit away in the safe for months on end before being looked at. So yeah, I hope to kind of get a little bit more out of the weeds. I've got some Islamic stuff that I'd like to go through as well, and then some more modern stuff too, which is always will be fun. But yeah, I think it's a nice balance of getting exposure to enough different areas of collecting to kind of keep things interesting. You don't want to get too focused in on one area, but you got to keep that in check though too, because then you just start buying random stuff, and you can get really sidetracked. Like I was buying modern Indian coins for a while, and it's like, why do you need to buy those? You have money you can spend on something nicer and kind of pool it up and focus on something that you really, really want versus just splurging on random coins that are a little bit too far outside of what you're interested in. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm getting a little bit on too much of a tangent here, so I think we'll call that for the first one. But yeah, I'd like to do these a little bit more often. Maybe pick a little bit of a loose topic. This one was pretty loose, a little bit of a background on collecting and being a little bit too kind of widely focused or scattershot on what you're doing. But yeah, maybe I'll pick a little bit more of a defined topic and chat about that next time. Well, I think throwing in the background, maybe showing some photos from trips and different slides of coins and stuff like that. I think we can make these interesting, make these fun. But yeah, so it's been Theo. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.